In the spring of 1453, a young man, merely 21 years old, stood before the walls of a city that had defied conquerors for over 1,000 years. His name was Mehmed II, and he carried the weight of a prophecy spoken centuries earlier, a promise that Constantinople will be conquered. What a wonderful commander will conquer it, and what a wonderful army will that army be. This wasn't just a military campaign for him. It was a calling, a destiny he felt in his very bones. Before him lay Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, a city whispered to be protected by God himself. But Mehmed didn't see an impenetrable fortress, he saw the future. For over a millennium, Constantinople had been the vibrant heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, a beacon of civilization, art, and faith. Its legendary defenses were the stuff of nightmares for would-be invaders. Imagine, not one, but 3 layers of massive stone walls stretching for miles, punctuated by imposing towers. Beyond the land walls, the city was guarded by the sea, a natural moat patrolled by the formidable Byzantine navy. This was the city that had repelled countless sieges from Avars, Arabs, and Bulgars. It was more than just stone and mortar. It was a symbol of enduring power, a Christian bastion that had stood defiant against the tides of history. But empires, like all things, have their season. And as Mehmed gazed upon its grandeur, he knew its season was coming to a close. He didn't see an unconquerable wall. He saw a challenge waiting for a visionary to overcome it, a destiny waiting to be written in fire and steel. To break the unbreakable, Mehmed knew he needed a weapon the world had never seen. He commissioned a brilliant, if eccentric, Hungarian engineer named Urban to forge cannons of unprecedented scale. These weren't just cannons, they were bronze behemoths, the superweapons of their age. The most famous of them, the Great Turkish Bombard, could hurl massive stone balls weighing over half a ton, each impact shaking the ancient walls to their very foundations. Day after day, the relentless pounding of these monster cannons echoed across the plains, a thunderous drumbeat counting down the city's final hours. But the Byzantines were not a people to give up easily. They were resourceful and fiercely proud. Their most brilliant defensive maneuver was sealing off the Golden Horn, the city's vital harbor, with a colossal iron chain stretched across its mouth. This chain, thick as a man's arm, rendered the Ottoman navy useless, preventing any amphibious assault on the city's weaker seawalls. For any other commander, this would have been a checkmate, but Mehmed was not any other commander. What happened next is one of the most audacious and brilliant feats in military history. If he couldn't sail his ships into the harbor, Mehmed decided he would move them overland. It was an idea so outlandish, so seemingly impossible, that the Byzantines never even considered it a threat. Under the cover of darkness, thousands of Ottoman soldiers and laborers worked in a frenzy. They laid down a massive roadway of greased, wooden logs, stretching for miles over the hills of Galata. Then, with brute force, teams of oxen and men began to haul his fleet dozens of ships, sails unfurled as if sailing on a sea of grossup and over the steep terrain. When the sun rose on April 22nd, the defenders of Constantinople looked out from their walls in stunned disbelief. The Ottoman fleet, which had been locked out of the Golden Horn the day before, was now floating majestically inside their harbor, behind their defenses. The psychological blow was as devastating as the tactical one. The impossible had been achieved. For 53 grueling days, the siege raged. The constant cannon fire, the skirmishes, the desperate attempts to undermine the walls, it was a relentless war of attrition. The city's defenders, a small but valiant force of Byzantines and their Genoese allies, fought with the courage of cornered lions, patching walls, extinguishing fires, and repelling wave after wave of attackers. The city was starving, exhausted, but its spirit was not yet broken. Then, on the fateful morning of May 29, 1453, under a stormy sky, Mehmed ordered the final, all-out assault. The thunder of cannons was joined by the roar of thousands of soldiers charging towards the breaches. The battle raged for hours in the pre-dawn darkness, a chaotic and brutal clash of steel and will. At a section of the wall damaged by cannon fire, the elite Ottoman Janissaries finally broke through. The tide had turned. Once the first banner was planted on the ramparts, the city's fate was sealed. As his victorious army poured into the city, Mehmed rode in not as a barbarian conqueror, but as a statesman. He immediately issued orders to protect the people. He rode to the Hagia Sophia, the magnificent cathedral that was the soul of Byzantium, where thousands of citizens had taken refuge, fearing a massacre. Instead of slaughter, they found mercy. Mehmed guaranteed their safety and their freedom to practice their faith. The Byzantine Empire, the last remnant of Rome, was no more. But from its ashes, a new era was being born. Stepping inside the Hagia Sophia for the first time, Mehmed was overcome by its awe-inspiring beauty. The vast, soaring dome seemed to hang from heaven itself. In a moment of profound reverence, he knelt, scooping a handful of earth and pouring it over his head in a gesture of humility before God. This was not a moment of conquest, but of fulfillment. He declared that this architectural marvel, for centuries the greatest church in Christendom, would now become a mosque, a central place of worship for his new capital. He renamed the city, calling it Istanbul, a name that resonated with its new identity. Under his rule, the city was revitalized. He encouraged people of all faiths, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, to live and trade there, turning it into a cosmopolitan hub of culture, commerce, and learning. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across the world. It marked the definitive end of the Middle Ages and heralded the dawn of a new age of Ottoman supremacy that would shape the course of history for centuries to come. The young man who stood before the walls had not just conquered a city. He had reshaped the world. Thank you so much for watching this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's most pivotal moments. We'll see you in the next one.